Gladius. It was the standard weapon for Roman legionnaires for over 500 years. This is a sword that has been featured throughout Hollywood, in dozens of movies from comedies.
What was his name? Nautius Maximus.
To historical masterpieces. So let's take a look at the history and use of this famous weapon. The Roman Empire undoubtedly achieved one of the greatest empires, with one of the most proficient armies of the ancient world. The Roman Empire was also one of the most technologically advanced civilizations for its time.
Plumbing here! Plumbing! Yes, citizens, plumbing! It's the latest invention to hit Rome! It moves water!
So is it fair to assume that the Romans had one of the best swords in history? One thing Hollywood loves best is a long, drawn-out sword fight with exaggerated importance on iconic weapons. The reality is, the Gladius is a good short sword, but not on its own, rather with the tactics and equipment that go with it, primarily shield formations. Here's an example of the famous Testudo, used to resist projectiles, allowing for swordsmen to advance safely on an enemy. And here's a bad example of a Testudo formation used for no other reason than the director, like myself, thought it was cool. The point being, what the Romans did best was train and fight in formations, with the Gladius part of their arsenal that included one or two javelins known as pila, occasionally war darts and or a dagger, but most importantly their large shields known as scutum. But apart from all that, I don't think the Romans were known for much else.
But apart from the sanitation, the aqueduct and the roads...
Irrigation, medicine, education.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
And the wine.
Come on! Follow me!
Where are you going?
When in doubt, attack!
Roman cavalry could also be equipped with the Gladius, as seen in most movies, though most likely this is because it was easier for prop departments. Short swords often did put cavalry at a disadvantage. Longer swords were preferred, such as the spatha. The Romans relied heavily on their tight, disciplined formations to win battles, not just their weapons. Javelins were often thrown at attacking enemies in order to break up their lines, with the hope that by the time they reached Roman shield walls, they would not be cohesive enough to match the Roman lines. Roman soldiers would then bash and strike with their shields, with their short swords able to pierce over the top, underneath, or to the side of their shields. A longsword generally would be too cumbersome to use in conjunction with a large shield. Training seen here in HBO's Rome would be a good approximation to historical training compared to the typical, never-ending sword clashing you see in most movies.
All right, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Thank you.
The Gladius was not actually a Roman sword at inception. The Romans adopted this sword during the Punic Wars while fighting Carthage in modern-day Spain. The sword was first used by the Celtiberians in Hispania. The full name of the sword is Gladius Hispaniensis, which simply translates to Hispanic sword, gladius being the word for sword.
Understand?
Yes, sir!
Now write out 100 times.
Yes, sir! Thank you, sir! Hail Caesar, sir!
Hail Caesar.
As the Gladius spanned a 500-year time span, there are many different versions, with different lengths, width, etc. They were also manufactured all across Europe. In general, though, they all have a similar shape, a small to no handguard. Again, this weapon was almost always used with a shield, so a handguard wasn't as necessary. The guard area you generally see is more for grip than actual defense. The pommel is generally round, but this also varies significantly, with many custom pommels, which is something cinema does beautifully well.
You have a brain. So the Tribunes say.
The one thing that cinema primarily gets wrong is showcasing the Gladius as a go-to single combat sword with long drawn-out duels. Undoubtedly, fighting did take place with a single Gladii, but this most likely would be a spontaneous occurrence. A Gladius fight with simply just a Gladius really turns into a knife fight. It's a close combat fight that usually ends in a quick thrust, with your opponent able to give one right back. And it's unlikely anyone of importance would agree to such a fight without a shield. Think of the expression, "no one ever wins in a knife fight." A one-on-one Gladius fight with no defensive shield is hard to come out of unscathed, even if you are the winner.
Oh my God! I'm fighting with cardboard!
Goodbye, head!
Hello, balls!
The Gladius is a great offensive weapon, but not primarily designed for defense. That's what the shields are for. One scene that highlights this so well is when Mark Antony and his Centurions are ambushed largely unequipped. Watch how Antony, without his shield, still chooses to defend his sword with his unequipped shield hand, waiting to block or dodge a strike, and then attack with his Gladius. In this stance, he's also not giving any attacker indication of the reach of his weapon.
It's a damn good sword.
Begin!
Another often used method of fighting with a Gladius in cinema is dual wielding, fighting with two Gladii at once. Surprisingly, this was a thing, but not amongst legionnaires, but with gladiators, particularly the type called the Dimachaerus, which was one of the few classes that used two swords. The concept generally was that one Gladius was used for defense and the other for attack. This may have been effective against heavily armored opponents, but it seems to have been a rare style and less popular than using a shield.
Wait till bigger stickers hears of this. Wait!
So if the Gladius was not a special sword on its own, why is it featured in virtually every gladiator battle possible in Roman-era movies? Well, gladiators used a large array of weapons, taught in a professional school called a ludus. At these schools, many were indeed trained to use the Gladius, but almost never were equipped with one by itself. Gladiators using a Gladius would most commonly be doing so with a standard large rectangular shield, similar to what the Roman army used, or a small round shield, such as used by the Hoplomachus, a type of gladiator. The point being, a gladiator armed with a lone Gladius likely would not last long enough to entertain the crowd without a defensive weapon.
Here.
Alright, I'm Johnny. Thank you for watching this amateur brief on the Gladius and some Roman-era tactics. If you want to add anything, please feel free to do so in the comment section below.
I'm a Roman. A woman? No, Roman.